In a distant corner of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's telescopes, an ancient and advanced alien civilization, known as the Veilith, faced its darkest hour. The Veilith were beings of light and energy, their translucent forms shimmering like liquid crystal under the glow of twin suns. For millennia, they had thrived on their homeworld, a planet called Silvera, where bioluminescent forests stretched endlessly and crystalline cities floated above shimmering oceans. But now, all of that was in danger. A mysterious force, known only as the Devourer, was spreading across the stars. It was not alive in the traditional sense, nor was it entirely dead. Instead, it existed as a swirling mass of chaotic energy, consuming everything in its path: planets, stars, even entire solar systems. No one knew where it had come from or why it acted with such relentless hunger. All the Veilith knew was that it was coming for them next. Desperation gripped the Veilith leaders as they gathered in their grand council chamber. Lumisar, their elder and wisest leader, stood at the center of the room, her translucent form flickering faintly with worry. Around her, other Veilith pulsed with colors that reflected their emotions, some red with fear, others blue with determination. They had tried everything to stop the Devourer. Their weapons could not harm it, their shields could not hold it back, and their technology could not outpace it. Even their attempts to flee had failed. The Devourer seemed to grow faster the more it consumed. "We must send a message," Lumisar said finally, her voice resonating like a soft chime. "If we cannot save ourselves, perhaps someone else can." But who would answer? The Veilith had long been isolated from the rest of the galaxy, their peaceful nature making them reluctant to engage with other species. Now, when they needed help the most, they feared no one would come. Still, hope lingered in the hearts of some. Using their most powerful communication array, the Veilith broadcast a distress signal across the stars, a cry for mercy, for aid, for anyone willing to listen. Light years away, on a small blue planet orbiting a modest yellow star, humanity received the faint transmission. It was picked up by the Quantum Relay Array, a cutting-edge device built to detect signals from deep space. At first, scientists dismissed it as interference or noise. But then, Dr. Annika Rao, a linguist specializing in extraterrestrial languages, noticed something unusual. Hidden within the static was a pattern, a message. "It's real," she whispered, her hands trembling as she adjusted the controls. "They're asking for help." News of the discovery spread quickly. Humanity was still young in terms of space exploration, having only recently begun venturing beyond its own moon. Compared to the mighty empires and advanced civilizations scattered throughout the galaxy, Earth was considered primitive, a backwater planet barely worth noticing. Yet here was a plea for assistance, sent not to the powerful, but to anyone who might care. Debates erupted worldwide. Should humanity intervene? Many argued that Earth had enough problems of its own, from climate change to political unrest. Others believed this was an opportunity, a chance to prove that humans were more than just survivors. They were compassionate, capable of reaching out to those in need. Captain Elena Vasquez, a seasoned astronaut chosen to lead humanity's response, summed it up best during a global address. "We may be small, and we may be inexperienced, but we have something many others lack: hope. If we don't answer this call, who will?" With that, preparations began. Engineers worked tirelessly to retrofit the Odyssey, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. Scientists studied the Veilith message, piecing together what little they could about the Devourer, and ordinary people around the world watched in awe, united by the idea that their tiny planet might make a difference in the vastness of space. For the Veilith, time was running out. For humanity, the journey was just beginning. The decision to answer the Veilith's distress call sparked a wave of excitement and uncertainty across Earth. For the first time in history, humanity was stepping into the role of cosmic savior, a daunting task for a species still grappling with its own challenges. Governments set aside their differences, pooling resources and expertise to prepare for the mission. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats worked around the clock, united by a shared goal: to help an alien civilization on the brink of extinction. At the heart of this effort was the Odyssey, Earth's most advanced spacecraft. It wasn't originally designed for interstellar travel, but had been retrofitted with experimental quantum drives capable of bending spacetime. The technology was untested, risky, and pushed the limits of what humanity understood about physics. Yet there was no turning back now. If the Odyssey succeeded, it would mark a new chapter in human history. If it failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. Leading the crew was Captain Elena Vasquez, a woman whose calm demeanor masked a fierce determination. Born in Mexico City, she had grown up watching the stars through a homemade telescope, dreaming of exploration beyond Earth. Her career as an astronaut spanned 2 decades, during which she earned a reputation for making tough decisions under pressure. Now, at 45, she stood ready to lead humanity's boldest mission yet. Joining her were some of the brightest minds on the planet. Dr. Raj Patel, an astrophysicist from India, specialized in studying anomalies like black holes and wormholes. His quick thinking and analytical skills made him invaluable. Lieutenant Mai Zong, an engineer from China, was responsible for maintaining the ship's systems. Known for her resourcefulness, May often joked that she could fix anything with duct tape and spare parts. Completing the core team was Ambassador Sofia Alvarez, a diplomat skilled in conflict resolution, tasked with ensuring smooth communication between humans and the Veilith. As the launch date approached, public interest reached fever pitch. News outlets broadcast every detail of the mission, from the design of the Odyssey to profiles of the crew members. People around the world held vigils, prayed, or simply watched the skies, hoping for success. Schools organized projects where children wrote letters to the Veilith, promising friendship and support. Humanity, for all its flaws, seemed determined to rise to the occasion. On the day of departure, millions gathered at the Kennedy Space Center to witness the historic event. The Odyssey gleamed under the Florida sun, its sleek silver hull adorned with symbols representing unity. Flags of nations, depictions of Earth's diverse cultures, and even artwork created by children. As the countdown began, Captain Vasquez addressed the crowd via live video feed. "We go not just as representatives of Earth," she said, her voice steady and clear, "but as ambassadors of hope. We may not know what lies ahead, but we carry with us the dreams of billions. Let us show the universe that humanity is more than its struggles. It is also compassion, courage, and curiosity." When the engines roared to life, the ground trembled beneath the spectators' feet. A brilliant plume of fire and smoke erupted as the Odyssey ascended into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind it. Cheers erupted, mingling with tears of pride and apprehension. For many, this moment felt like the dawn of a new era. Inside the ship, the mood was quieter, but no less intense. The crew strapped into their seats, feeling the immense power of the quantum drives as they activated. Within moments, the stars outside the windows blurred, stretching into streaks of light as the Odyssey entered faster than light travel. The sensation was surreal, like being pulled through a tunnel of infinite possibilities. For weeks, the journey continued without incident. The crew spent their days monitoring systems, conducting experiments, and preparing for the unknown. They trained tirelessly, running simulations to anticipate every possible scenario. Despite their preparations, doubts lingered. Could they truly make a difference against something as vast and mysterious as the Devourer? What if the Veilith refused their help? And what awaited them when they arrived? Captain Vasquez often found herself staring out the viewport, lost in thought. She knew the risks. They all did, but she also believed in the potential of humanity. This mission wasn't just about saving the Veilith. It was about proving that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple across the cosmos. As the Odyssey hurtled toward Silvera, the Veilith homeworld, one thing was certain: whatever lay ahead, humanity was ready to face it, together. After months of travel through the vast emptiness of space, the Odyssey finally approached Silvera, the Valith homeworld. The sight that greeted the crew was breathtaking. From orbit, the planet shimmered like a jewel suspended in the void. Its surface glowed faintly with bioluminescent hues, soft blues, greens, and purples radiating from forests, oceans, and floating crystalline cities. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the helm of the ship, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is it," she murmured, more to herself than to the others. "We've made it." But the moment of awe was short-lived. As the Odyssey entered the atmosphere, alarms blared throughout the ship. A sudden energy surge disrupted their systems, causing lights to flicker and control panels to spark. Lieutenant Maizong sprang into action, her fingers flying across her console as she worked to stabilize the ship. "It's some kind of defense mechanism," she shouted over the noise. "They're scanning us." Ambassador Sofia Alvarez stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "If this is their way of protecting themselves, we need to show them we mean no harm." Turning to Captain Vasquez, she added, "Let me try communicating with them." With Mai working furiously to keep the ship steady, Sofia activated the Universal Translator, a device designed to interpret alien languages and broadcast a simple message: "We come in peace. We are here to help." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, a soft hum filled the air, followed by a series of melodic tones. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Dr. Raj Patel leaned closer to his monitor, analyzing the transmission. "It's not hostile," he said after a moment. "It sounds curious." Suddenly, a holographic image materialized on the bridge. It depicted a tall, translucent figure with an ethereal glow. This was Lumisar, the leader of the Valith. Her form pulsed gently with shifting colors, conveying emotions the humans couldn't fully understand. Through the translator, her voice emerged as a chiming melody, each word resonating like music. "You have answered our call," Lumisar said, her tone cautious but tinged with relief. "Why have you come?" Sophia stepped forward again, her hands raised slightly in a gesture of goodwill. "We heard your plea for help and decided to act. We may not be as advanced as you, but we believe in compassion and unity. If there's any way we can assist, we will do everything in our power." Lumisar studied the humans intently, her glowing form flickering with shades of blue and gold, colors the crew would later learn represented curiosity and hope. After a pause, she replied, "Your courage is admirable, though your presence surprises us. Many others ignored our cry for aid, deeming it futile. Why would you risk so much for strangers?" Captain Vasquez took a step forward, her expression resolute. "Because no one should face despair alone. That's what makes us human. We care, even when the odds seem impossible." The room fell silent as Lumisar absorbed her words. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Very well. We welcome your assistance, though we fear it may already be too late. Follow us to the capital city. There, we will discuss how you might help." With that, the hologram dissolved, leaving the crew awestruck. Moments later, a fleet of sleek Valith vessels appeared outside the windows, escorting the Odyssey toward the glowing heart of Silvera. The crew watched in amazement as they descended into the planet's atmosphere, passing over luminous landscapes that seemed almost dreamlike. As they landed near the capital city, the crew prepared to disembark. Each member felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to meet an alien species face to face, something few humans had ever done before. Would the Valith trust them? Could humanity truly make a difference? Before stepping off the ship, Captain Vasquez turned to her team. "Remember why we're here," she said firmly. "We represent not just Earth, but all of humanity. Let's show them what we're capable of." One by one, the crew exited the Odyssey, stepping onto alien soil for the first time. Surrounding them were towering crystalline structures that refracted light into dazzling patterns. Dozens of Valith gathered nearby, their forms shimmering with anticipation. Some pulsed red with skepticism, while others glowed green with cautious optimism. Lumisar approached, her presence commanding yet serene. "Come," she said, extending a translucent hand. "There is much to discuss, and little time to waste." As the humans followed her into the city, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into uncharted territory, not just physically, but emotionally. The Violet capital city was a marvel of alien architecture, its crystalline towers humming softly with energy. The humans followed Lumisar through shimmering corridors filled with glowing symbols and pulsating lights. Despite the beauty around them, the air was heavy with tension. Every step reminded the crew that they were here to confront something far greater than themselves, the Devourer. Lumisar led them to a vast chamber where holographic projections displayed the entity's destructive path across the galaxy. The images showed entire star systems reduced to lifeless voids, their stars extinguished and planets consumed. At the center of it all was the Devourer itself, a swirling mass of chaotic energy, constantly shifting and growing. It looked alive, yet mechanical, intelligent, yet uncontrollable. "This is what we face," Lumisar said, her voice resonating like a mournful chime. "It has no form, no mind as you understand it, yet it consumes without end, spreading faster with each world it devours." Dr. Raj Patel leaned closer to one of the projections, his brow furrowed in concentration. "If it's consuming matter for sustenance, then it must have some kind of programming or directive driving it," he mused aloud. "Perhaps it wasn't always this way. Could it have been created?" Lumisar nodded slowly. "You are correct. Long ago, before my people existed, the Devourer was designed as a caretaker, a force meant to nurture dying stars and maintain balance in the universe. But something went wrong. Its purpose twisted, and now it seeks only destruction." Lieutenant Mai Zong crossed her arms, frowning. "So, it's not evil, it's just broken. If that's true, maybe there's a way to fix it." Captain Elena Vasquez stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the hologram. "Fixing it won't be easy. We're talking about reprogramming an entity that spans light years. Do you even know how it operates?" Lumisar hesitated, her translucent form flickering faintly with uncertainty. "We do not. Our attempts to study it have failed. It reacts violently to any intrusion, destroying everything in its path. That is why we turn to outsiders, to those who might see solutions we cannot." Ambassador Sofia Alvarez placed a reassuring hand on Lumisar's shoulder. "We'll find a way. Together." Over the next few days, the human crew worked tirelessly alongside the Valeth scientists. They analyzed data, ran simulations, and debated theories late into the night. Dr. Patel proposed using harmonic resonance, a concept inspired by Earth's own music theory, to communicate with the Devourer. "If it responds to certain frequencies," he explained, "we might be able to talk to it, or at least influence its behavior." Mai immediately began designing a device capable of generating such frequencies, combining human technology with Valeth energy manipulation. Her sketches covered every available surface of the lab, blending sleek metallic components with glowing crystalline elements. "If this works," she said with quiet determination, "we might be able to stabilize it, or at least slow it down." But not everyone shared their optimism. Some Valeth Council members argued that humanity's efforts were futile and suggested abandoning the planet altogether. Others whispered of desperate measures, like weaponizing their remaining resources in a last-ditch attempt to destroy the Devourer, even if it meant sacrificing themselves in the process. Captain Vasquez refused to give up. She gathered her team in the Odyssey's briefing room, pacing back and forth as she spoke. "We didn't come this far to quit now. Yes, the odds are against us, but isn't that when humanity shines brightest? When we refuse to accept defeat?" Her words reignited a spark of hope among the crew. They returned to work with renewed vigor, determined to prove that compassion and ingenuity could overcome even the darkest threats. Finally, After countless hours of effort, the prototype device was ready. It was small enough to fit inside a shuttle, but powerful enough to emit harmonic waves across vast distances. As the team prepared to test it near the Devourer's edge, Captain Vasquez addressed her crew one final time. "We don't know what will happen out there," she admitted. "But whatever comes next, remember this. We're not just fighting for the Valeth. We're fighting for the future of exploration, cooperation, and hope itself." With that, they boarded the shuttle, leaving behind the glowing city and heading toward the swirling chaos of the Devourer. The journey ahead would be perilous, but for the first time since arriving on Silvera, the humans felt a glimmer of possibility. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could rewrite the story of the galaxy and save it from annihilation. As the shuttle carrying Captain Elena Vasquez and her team approached the edge of the Devourer, tensions aboard the Odyssey reached a boiling point. The mission had always been risky, but now that they were closer to the entity than ever before, doubts began to surface among the crew. Was this truly worth it? Could humanity, a species still learning to navigate its own solar system, really make a difference against something so vast and incomprehensible? Back on Silvera, whispers of dissent spread through the Valeth Council chambers. Some leaders argued that relying on humans was a mistake, pointing out their technological inferiority compared to other galactic powers who had refused to intervene. "They are children playing with forces they cannot understand," one elder said bitterly. "Their efforts will only delay the inevitable." These sentiments filtered down to the human crew, fueling unease. Lieutenant Maizong overheard fragments of conversations between Valeth scientists questioning whether the harmonic resonance device would work, or worse, if it might provoke the Devourer into attacking sooner. Mai tried to brush it off, focusing instead on calibrating the prototype, but even she couldn't ignore the growing weight of uncertainty. Meanwhile, Dr. Raj Patel spent hours poring over data, searching for flaws in his theory. What if the Devourer didn't respond to harmonics at all? What if their interference caused it to accelerate its consumption? Each scenario played out in his mind like a nightmare, leaving him drained and irritable. When Sofia Alvarez gently suggested taking a break, he snapped, "How can I rest when every second brings us closer to failure?" Captain Vasquez noticed the cracks forming within her team. She called an emergency meeting in the ship's observation deck, where Earth's blue-green orb hung suspended in the viewport, a reminder of what they were fighting for. "Listen to me," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the murmurs of doubt. "I know this mission feels impossible, but remember why we're here. Humanity isn't defined by its size or strength. It's defined by our ability to care, to try, even when the odds seem insurmountable." Her words struck a chord with some, but not everyone was convinced. A heated argument erupted between May and Dr. Patel, each blaming the other for perceived shortcomings in the plan. Mai accused Raj of being too theoretical, while Raj countered that May's focus on engineering ignored the bigger picture. Their voices echoed through the room until Sophia stepped in, her tone sharp yet measured. "Enough," she said, silencing them both. "We're stronger together than apart. Fighting amongst ourselves is exactly what the Devourer wants, chaos. If we fall apart now, we've already lost." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Slowly, the crew began to regroup, channeling their frustration into preparation. They ran final checks on the shuttle, reviewed evacuation protocols, and rehearsed communication strategies. Yet beneath the surface, divisions remained. On board the shuttle, Captain Vasquez sat quietly, staring at the swirling mass of energy outside the window. The Devourer loomed large now, its chaotic patterns hypnotic and terrifying. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel fear, not for herself, but for her crew. If this failed, how many lives would be lost? How much hope would die along with them? Back on Silvera, Lumisar watched the humans prepare with a mixture of admiration and dread. She approached Captain Vasquez just before departure, her glowing form steady, but tinged with sadness. "You remind me of my people long ago," she said softly. when we were young and unafraid to dream. Do not let fear cloud your resolve." Vasquez nodded, drawing strength from the alien leader's words. As she boarded the shuttle, she turned to her team with renewed determination. "No matter what happens out there, we face it together. That's what makes us human." With those words, the shuttle launched toward the Devourer, leaving behind the glowing city and the fragile alliances forged within it. Ahead lay the unknown, a swirling void of destruction and despair, but also, perhaps, a chance to rewrite the story of two civilizations, bound by courage and compassion. As the shuttle disappeared into the chaos, the crew clung to one truth: unity was their greatest weapon, and in the face of overwhelming odds, it might just be enough to tip the scales. The shuttle carrying Captain Elena Vasquez and her team hovered at the edge of the Devourer, its swirling mass of energy pulsating like a living storm. Up close, the entity was even more intimidating than they had imagined. Its chaotic patterns shifted unpredictably, sending waves of distortion through space. The crew exchanged tense glances as Lieutenant Mai Zong activated the harmonic resonance device. Its soft hum filled the cabin, a stark contrast to the violent chaos outside. "This is it," Dr. Raj Patel said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let's see if your theory holds up." May nodded, her hand steady on the controls despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She adjusted the frequency settings, aligning them with the data they had gathered during their research. Slowly, the device emitted a series of melodic tones, each note resonating outward like ripples in water. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the Devourer reacted. Its swirling mass began to stabilize, forming intricate geometric patterns that pulsed faintly in response to the harmonics. The crew watched in stunned silence as the once chaotic entity seemed to calm, almost as though it were listening. Captain Vasquez leaned forward, her eyes wide with awe. "It's working," she breathed. "We're actually reaching it." But their triumph was short-lived. As the frequencies intensified, the Devourer's reaction grew erratic. One moment it shimmered peacefully. The next, it flared violently, sending shockwaves that rocked the shuttle. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to maintain control. Mai cursed under her breath, frantically adjusting the device, while Dr. Patel monitored the readings. "It's unstable," he shouted. "If we push too hard, it could lash out." Back on Silvara, Lumisar and her council observed the events from their command center. Their glowing forms flickered with worry as they watched the shuttle struggle against the unpredictable force. Some Valith leaders began to panic, urging Lumisar to recall the humans before it was too late. "They're making it worse," one elder exclaimed. "We should never have trusted them." Lumisar hesitated, torn between fear and hope. Finally, she turned to Ambassador Sofia Alvarez, who stood nearby, observing the chaos. "Tell me honestly," Lumisar asked, her chiming voice tinged with desperation. "Do you believe they can succeed?" Sofia met the alien leader's gaze, her expression resolute. "I believe in humanity's ability to adapt and persevere. They may not be perfect, but they don't give up easily. Trust them, for now." Inspired by Sofia's faith, Lumisar made a bold decision. She ordered her scientists to assist remotely, channeling additional power from Silvera's energy grid to stabilize the shuttle systems. Meanwhile, the Valith shared ancient records detailing similar attempts to communicate with the Devourer centuries ago. These documents revealed key insights about the entity's behavior, which the human crew used to refine their approach. On board the shuttle, Captain Vasquez rallied her team. "We're not giving up," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the tension. "Whatever happens, we keep trying. That's what we do. We find a way." With renewed determination, the crew combined human ingenuity with Valith knowledge to adjust the device's output. They discovered that alternating between specific frequencies created a stabilizing effect, allowing them to establish a tentative connection with the Devourer. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. As hours passed, trust began to grow, not just between humans and Valith, but within the crew itself. May apologized to Raj for doubting his theories, while he acknowledged her technical expertise. Together, they fine-tuned the device, their collaboration yielding results neither could have achieved alone. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the devourer responded in a way no one expected. Its swirling mass transformed into a radiant beacon of light, projecting images of stars being born, planets flourishing, and life thriving. It was as though the entity was showing them its original purpose: to nurture, not destroy. Captain Vasquez stared at the glowing display, tears welling in her eyes. "It remembers," she whispered. "It still knows how to create." For the first time since arriving on Silvera, hope surged among both humans and Valeth. Though the battle was far from over, this fragile alliance had proven that cooperation could bridge even the widest divides. Together, they had taken the first step toward redemption, not just for the devourer, but for themselves. As the shuttle returned to Silvera, the crew knew the hardest challenges lay ahead. But for now, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet pride. Humanity had faced the unknown and found a way to make a difference. The fragile alliance between humans and Valeth was put to the test when disaster struck unexpectedly. Just as the crew of the Odyssey prepared to launch a second mission to the Devourer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Critical systems began shutting down one by one. Navigation, life support, even the quantum drives that powered their faster-than-light travel. Lieutenant Mai Zong rushed to the engineering bay, her hands flying over the control panels as she tried to diagnose the problem. "It's sabotage," May announced grimly, her voice cutting through the chaos on the bridge. Someone tampered with the core systems. Captain Elena Vasquez clenched her fists, her mind racing. Sabotage. On board the Odyssey. It seemed impossible. Who would dare jeopardize the mission? And why? Ambassador Sofia Alvarez immediately suspected internal conflict among the Valeth. She approached Lumisar, who stood nearby in the command center, her translucent form flickering faintly with unease. "We need answers," Sofia said firmly. "If this is coming from your people, you must tell us." Lumisar hesitated, her glowing colors shifting to shades of red. Anger or shame. Finally, she admitted, "There are factions within my council who believe humanity's interference endangers us all. They fear the Devourer will retaliate against Silvera if we continue." Before anyone could respond, Dr. Raj Patel interrupted urgently. "Captain, we've traced the source of the sabotage. It's coming from Deck 4, storage compartments." Vasquez wasted no time. She led a small team, including me and Raj, to investigate. Armed with flashlights and tools, they moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridors. As they reached the designated area, they discovered a shadowy figure hunched over a console, frantically typing commands. "Stop right there," Vasquez ordered, her voice sharp. The figure froze, then slowly turned around. To everyone's shock, it wasn't a Valeth. It was Dr. Marcus Hale, one of the human scientists assigned to assist with the harmonic resonance device. His face was pale, his eyes wide with guilt. "Marcus," Raj exclaimed, stunned. "What have you done?" Hale stammered, clearly torn between defiance and remorse. I had to stop this madness. We're playing with forces we don't understand. If we keep pushing, the Devourer will destroy us all." Mai stepped forward, her expression hardening. "You think shutting down the ship helps? Without navigation or life support, we'll die out here." Captain Vasquez intervened before the argument escalated further. "Enough. Marcus, you're under arrest." Turning to her team, she added, "Get him secured and start repairs immediately. Every second counts." As Marcus was taken away, tensions aboard the Odyssey soared. Word of his betrayal spread quickly, sowing distrust among both humans and Valeth. Some questioned whether Earth should have sent its most brilliant minds, or if ambition and fear had clouded their judgment. Others argued that Marcus acted alone and shouldn't reflect on humanity as a whole. Meanwhile, scavenger ships began circling the disabled Odyssey, drawn by reports of the mission. These opportunistic raiders saw the stranded vessel as easy prey, broadcasting taunts over comms. "Looks like the little monkeys got themselves stuck," one sneered. "Hand over your tech, and maybe we'll let you live." Faced with sabotage and external threats, Captain Vasquez called an emergency meeting. "We can't afford division now," she said, addressing both her crew and the Vailith leaders. "If we fall apart, we lose everything, not just this mission, but any chance for peace in the future. We stand together, or we fail together." Her words resonated deeply. The Vailith offered their own engineers to assist with repairs, while the human crew worked tirelessly to restore power. Despite exhaustion and dwindling supplies, they refused to give up. Hours turned into days as they battled against time, repairing damaged circuits and fending off scavenger attacks with improvised defenses. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Odyssey roared back to life. Lights flickered on, engines hummed, and navigation systems came online. Cheers erupted across the ship, but there was no time to celebrate. The Devourer loomed closer than ever, its chaotic energy threatening to engulf Silvera entirely. As the crew prepared for another attempt to communicate with the entity, Captain Vasquez reflected on how far they'd come. Betrayal had tested them. Enemies had surrounded them, yet they had endured. Humanity and the Vailith were more united than ever, a fragile bond forged in the fires of adversity. With renewed determination, the Odyssey set course once again toward the Devourer. This time, they carried not just technology, but trust, the foundation of hope in a galaxy teetering on the brink of destruction. The Odyssey approached the Devourer once more, its swirling mass now closer than ever to Silvera. The crew stood on the bridge, their faces etched with determination, but also fear. They had faced sabotage, betrayal, and scavenger attacks. Yet none of those challenges compared to what lay ahead. This was it, the moment they would either succeed or fail in their mission to save an entire civilization. Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the railing of the command center, her knuckles white as she stared at the chaotic entity filling the viewport. "All right, team," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "We've trained for this. We know what we're up against. Let's make humanity proud." Lieutenant Mai Zong double-checked the harmonic resonance device one last time, ensuring every component was functioning perfectly. She exchanged a glance with Dr. Raj Patel, who nodded reassuringly. "Frequencies are locked," Mad reported. "We're ready." Ambassador Sofia Alvarez turned to Lumisar, who had joined them aboard the Odyssey for this final attempt. "Your people are counting on us," Sofia reminded her gently. "Let's show them that unity can overcome even the darkest forces." Lumisar's translucent form glowed faintly with gratitude and hope. "You have already proven yourselves courageous beyond measure," she replied. "Whatever happens next, my people will never forget your sacrifice." As the shuttle carrying the device moved closer to the Devourer, the crew initiated the sequence. Soft melodic tones began emanating from the device, resonating outward like ripples in a cosmic pond. At first, there was no visible reaction. Then, slowly, the swirling chaos of the Devourer started to shift. Its pattern stabilized, forming intricate geometric shapes that pulsed rhythmically in response to the harmonics. "It's working," Dr. Patel exclaimed, his eyes glued to the monitors. "It's responding." But just as hope surged among the crew, the Devourer reacted unpredictably. One section of its mass flared violently, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The shuttle rocked violently, throwing everyone off balance. Alarms blared, warning of structural damage. "We can't hold this frequency much longer," May shouted, struggling to maintain control of the device. "If we push too hard, it might destabilize completely." Captain Vasquez clenched her jaw, weighing the risks. Pulling back now meant abandoning the Vailith, and possibly dooming both civilizations. Pushing forward could trigger a catastrophic reaction, consuming them all. There was no easy choice. "Keep going," Vasquez ordered firmly. "We didn't come this far to quit now." Her decision inspired the crew to dig deeper, May adjusted the frequencies dynamically, trying to find a balance between stability and influence. Raj analyzed real-time data, guiding her adjustments while shouting updates over the noise. Back on the Odyssey, the rest of the crew worked frantically to shield the shuttle from further damage. Then something extraordinary happened. As the harmonics intensified, the Devourer began emitting bursts of radiant light, not destructive, but nurturing. Images of stars being born, planets flourishing, and life thriving filled the void around them. It was as though the entity was remembering its original purpose, to sustain, not destroy. Lumisar gasped, her glowing form shimmering with awe. "It understands," she whispered. "It remembers." For a brief moment, victory seemed within reach. But the strain on the shuttle became unbearable. Warning lights flashed red across the control panel, signaling imminent failure. Captain Vasquez made a split-second decision. "Everyone, evacuate the shuttle," she commanded. "May, Raj, get out of there now." "But Captain, you're still inside," Sophia protested. Vasquez gave her a determined smile. "I'll stay behind to ensure the signal keeps going." "Go, that's an order." As the others reluctantly obeyed, evacuating to the safety of the Odyssey, Vasquez remained aboard the shuttle. She adjusted the device manually, pouring every ounce of energy into maintaining the connection. Her actions bought precious time, but at great personal cost. From the Odyssey, the crew watched in stunned silence as the shuttle drifted dangerously close to the Devourer's core. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she whispered, "She's sacrificing everything." And then, amidst the swirling chaos, the Devourer transformed fully, a radiant beacon of creation, spreading vitality instead of destruction. Silvera was saved, but the fate of Captain Vasquez and the shuttle remained uncertain. In that moment, humanity's courage shone brighter than ever before. Their sacrifice had changed the course of history, proving that even the smallest acts of bravery could reshape the cosmos. The Odyssey hung in silence, its crew frozen as they watched the shuttle drift closer to the Devourer's radiant core. Captain Elena Vasquez sat alone inside, her hands steady on the controls despite the chaos around her. The harmonic resonance device hummed softly, its melodic tones still resonating with the transformed entity. She knew she had only moments left before the shuttle, and everything aboard it would be consumed. "Vasquez," Sofia Alvarez's voice crackled over the comms, trembling with emotion. "You don't have to do this. We can pull back now." Elena smiled faintly, her eyes fixed on the swirling light outside the window. "No, Sophia," she replied calmly. "This is where I'm meant to be. Someone has to stay behind to make sure this works." Her words echoed through the ship, leaving the crew speechless. Dr. Raj Patil gripped the edge of his console, tears streaming down his face. Lieutenant Maizong clenched her fists, torn between admiration and grief. Even Lumisar, standing quietly among them, pulsed with colors of sorrow and gratitude. Back on the shuttle, Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decision settle over her. This wasn't just about saving the Valeth or proving humanity's worth. It was about hope. If her sacrifice could inspire others to act selflessly, then it would all be worth it. As the shuttle neared the heart of the Devourer, something unexpected happened. The radiant energy surrounding the entity began to envelop the craft, not violently but gently, like an embrace. The chaotic swirls of destruction had been replaced by waves of nurturing light, pulsing in harmony with the frequencies emitted by the device. It was as if the Devourer itself recognized Elena's bravery and responded in kind. On board the Odyssey, the crew held their breath. They fully expected the shuttle to vanish into the glowing mass at any moment. But instead, the lights dimmed slightly, and a new signal appeared on their monitors, a faint transmission coming directly from the shuttle. "Captain," Mag whispered hesitantly into the comm. Are you still there?" For a moment, there was no response. Then Elena's voice came through, calm and resolute. "I'm here," she said. "And so is the Devourer, at least what it used to be. It's remembering its purpose. I think we've done it." Cheers erupted across the Odyssey, but they were short-lived. The shuttle systems were failing rapidly, and everyone knew time was running out. Alina addressed her crew one final time, her tone firm yet filled with warmth. "Listen to me," she said. "This isn't goodbye. You carry the spirit of this mission forward. Show the galaxy that humanity stands for compassion, courage, and unity. That's how we'll truly change the universe, not just today, but every day after." Tears flowed freely as the crew listened to her words. Sophia placed a hand over her heart, vowing silently to honor Alina's legacy. Even the Valeth pulsed with colors of reverence, their forms shimmering brighter than ever before. Finally, the shuttle disappeared into the radiant glow of the Devourer. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the massive entity began to shrink, its energy dissipating harmlessly into the void. Silvera's skies cleared, revealing twin suns shining brightly once more. The planet and its people were safe. But the loss of Captain Vasquez weighed heavily on everyone. Her sacrifice had saved billions, yet the pain of her absence lingered. As the Odyssey turned towards Silvera, the crew prepared to deliver the news to the Valeth Council. They owed it to Alina to share her story, to ensure her heroism would never be forgotten. When they arrived, Lumiser greeted them with solemn gratitude. "Your captain gave everything to save us," she said, her voice chiming softly. "Her name will forever shine among the stars." That night, the humans and Valeth gathered together under Silvera's glowing skies. They shared stories of courage and resilience, celebrating the bond forged between their species. Though sadness remained, so did hope. Humanity had proven itself capable of greatness, not through power or technology, but through acts of selflessness and love. And somewhere, amidst the stars, Alina Vasquez's spirit lived on, a beacon of redemption, reminding everyone that even the smallest sacrifices could ignite the brightest lights. The return to Earth was bittersweet. The crew of the Odyssey carried with them both triumph and loss. Captain Alina Vasquez's sacrifice had saved Silvera, but her absence left a void that no words could fill. As the ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, millions gathered around screens worldwide, watching live broadcasts of the historic homecoming. For humanity, this mission wasn't just about saving an alien civilization. It was about proving their place in the cosmos. When the Odyssey touched down at Kennedy Space Center, the crowd erupted into cheers, though many faces were streaked with tears. Dr. Raj Patel, Lieutenant Maizong, Ambassador Sofia Alvarez, and the rest of the crew stepped off the ship wearing expressions of pride mixed with sorrow. They were greeted by world leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had followed their journey from the beginning. The sight of humanity united under one cause filled the air with a sense of hope rarely seen before. In the days that followed, the story of the Odyssey spread across the globe and beyond. News of humanity's bravery reached other corners of the galaxy, sparking curiosity and respect among species who had once dismissed Earth as insignificant. Diplomatic envoys arrived from distant star systems, eager to learn more about these compassionate newcomers. Humanity was no longer viewed as a primitive backwater planet. They were now seen as pioneers of empathy and courage. But for the crew, the celebration felt incomplete without Alina. Her name became synonymous with heroism, her actions immortalized in speeches, monuments, and even songs. Schools named classrooms after her, astronauts whispered her name before launching into space, and children dreamed of following in her footsteps. Yet those closest to her, the crew, knew she wouldn't want all the attention. She would have wanted them to focus on the future. Months passed, and life aboard Earth began to change. Inspired by the mission, nations collaborated on new projects aimed at exploring the stars while fostering peace on their own planet. Climate initiatives gained momentum, wars simmered down, and people embraced a renewed sense of unity. Humanity had looked outward to help another species, only to find strength within themselves. Then came a moment none of them expected. One quiet evening, deep in space, a faint signal appeared on Earth's quantum relay array. At first, it was dismissed as interference, but when Dr. Patel analyzed the data, his heart skipped a beat. It was coming from the shuttle, the same shuttle that had disappeared into the Devourer. Could it be? May asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. The signal grew stronger, carrying fragments of a familiar voice. "This is Captain Vasquez. If anyone can hear me, I'm alive." The room fell silent as the crew processed what they were hearing. Against all odds, Alina had survived, or perhaps been transformed by the Devourer itself. Whatever the explanation, she was out there, somewhere among the stars. Captain Vasquez's message reignited humanity's spirit of exploration. A second mission was launched immediately, led by Sofia Alvarez, with the goal of finding her and uncovering the mysteries of the Devover's transformation. This time, humanity wasn't venturing into the unknown alone. They were joined by allies, including the Valeth and several other species inspired by their courage. As the new ship departed, leaving Earth behind once more, the legacy of the Odyssey continued to ripple across the galaxy. Humanity had proven that even the smallest acts of kindness could leave an indelible mark on the universe. And though challenges lay ahead, one truth remained clear. The stars were no longer a distant dream. They were a shared destiny. Somewhere, amidst the endless expanse of space, Alina Vasquez waited, her light shining brighter than ever. Her story reminded everyone that hope was eternal, and that humanity's greatest adventures were only just beginning.